Chords and Coffee. It's another morning here at the store. Look at Emmett back there, working the deal, talking with his hands. Let's see who we got up here real quick. Hold on. Spencer Tice. Hey. The most professional man bun in the business. And then here we go. We got Elijah Perkins. Here we go.
What's up, people?
What a musician. All these handsome fellas around here makes me kind of have to put on some extra smell good. You know what I mean? Kind of elevate my game a little bit. I think today we're going to get this Epiphone Wilshire pudding. Speaking of pudding, I was thinking about another jam recipe that I could give you. When I was a kid, going to potluck dinners out there in little country Faith United Methodist Church in Tennessee, I remember there was always somebody bring that. It's like a graham cracker crust with cream cheese and cherry topping. I don't even know what it's called, but it's like one of my favorite things in the universe. And you ever been to a good potluck dinner? What makes a good potluck dinner is the same thing that makes a good jam. You need to bring something to the table that folks want to partake in. Sometimes, and when I say this, please, I'm not calling anybody out, but I have been to the jams, or I have sat and jammed with somebody where the other person was absolutely intent on exposing my musical weaknesses. And usually they were successful. But that being said, I don't want to do that. I want to try to find a way to create a musical, spontaneous moment that brings folks together, doesn't drive folks away, and also is something that is is sustainable. So a jam that actually has some, like some longevity to it. Here, hold on a second. Let me make sure I got my airplane mode on so nobody interrupts us. There we go. So, we got us a recipe. We need a recipe for a good jam. We did the G Blues thing here recently. I'm cutting this tag off. Don't get nervous. You keep a pocket knife on you? Pretty handy. Anyway, a good jam. A good jam. This is going to be more of like a... if you watch the Kansas City episode, I would say this is a level 2.5. It's slightly more involved than that, but it's not so hard that you can't remember it or do it. And the good thing is I promise you, if you do this, if you tell the other person, hey, play this pentatonic scale, they're going to sound really good, and they're going to love you for it. So there you go. You might ask, Nate, what if I'm playing and I'm providing this beautiful, succulent jam that makes the other person sound fantastic, and then when it's my turn to solo, they can't do for me? That's okay. You've set the atmosphere, and they'll do their best, and you'll do your best, and it'll be just fine. Hey, so I'm playing through a Dr. Z Maz 18. I'm gonna turn the gain down just a skosh here. Do you know this amp? Let me show you this thing. This is really cool. This is a, it's EL84s, very Vox-ish. I grabbed the no reverb version, which is what we had, and that's not necessarily what I wanted because I'm kind of a reverb guy, but we had one with reverb downstairs. I just grabbed the wrong one. They look identical, but this sounds pretty good, so may not even miss the reverb. I grabbed this Epiphone Wilshire because I like P90s, but also it's just, I always thought this was a cool guitar. Captain Kirk from The Roots plays one of these, a couple different versions of these. I think he has the white one. There's a really interesting story of Prince borrowing his guitar and breaking it. You can find that on the old Google webs. Just Google, his name is actually Kirk Douglas, not Kurt Douglas. That's a fine actor, but Kirk Douglas, who's a very fine guitar player, tells a story about Prince breaking his Epiphone. All right, so here we go. We're not going to break nothing today. Let's take you a quick drink first before I get started here. Are you guys digging these mugs? Let me know. Is it too much attention on the mugs? Apologize for that. I'm proud of them. I don't know what to tell you. So we're going to do this in E. So E major, you want your friend or spontaneous jamming buddy that you meet at the guitar shop, you want them to sound good, you're going to tell them what is the relative minor for E major. You're going to tell them C sharp minor pentatonic. That's right. So that's what you're going to give them. Let me turn this light down just a little bit here. I feel like it's a little much. Is that better? Is that better? Your happiness is my reward. All right. All right, so E major, we're going to do E major 7. Right? We're going to grip this with the index finger on the D string on the 4th fret from D, G, B, and high E. And actually, honestly, you just need from the G over. So G, B, E. Right? Those 3 cats right there. And then we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to push down on the D string of the 6th fret. So right off the bat, look, we've made a G sharp minor. So E major 7 is G sharp minor over E. Right? So after we have our ring finger on the 6th fret of the D, we're going to put our pinky on the A string of the 7th fret and then a low E note. So that ought to also tell you that if you're playing this jam and somebody's doing, they're doing all the C sharp minor pentatonic stuff. In fact, what they're doing just an amazing job, and you just kind of need a different flavor to go to. Try old G sharp minor pentatonic. If you came out of the gate with but wait to see where this jam goes, because there'll be a danger moment if you stay there. So we got our E, so we're going to go. Harmonic's not necessary. So that second chord, if you remember back when we did the double stops lesson, the double down on the double stops lesson, we talked about this chord that I'm going to give you now. It's an A major 7, but because of what's happening here, it's as if we're doing this G sharp minor pentatonic that I was just talking about, and you're going to have your middle finger on the 5th fret of the low E, skipping the A, and then your index finger is going to lay on the D string and the G string of the 4th fret, right? And that's really a B over A, but we're doing that just for a second because then our ring finger and our pinky's going to hammer on the 6th fret of the D and the G. And honestly, if you did just that much, the E major 7 to that, and I'm doing a little hammer on the D string, taking my D string or my ring finger off of the D, and so that index finger is catching that D. When I first started this, I was telling you that that's probably why, because you got these little built-in licks here. So if you can see that, index finger on the D, and then I'm hammering on the 6th fret of the D string. If that's all you did, a little 1-4, so the 1 chord to the 4 chord, which is what that would be, the E major 7 to the A major 7. That's a tasty jam. That's a pretty good potluck. That's like bringing the nacho cheese and the chips to the potluck. It's like you phoned it in, but nobody's mad about it. You know what I mean? Everybody can eat that. All right. So with that being said. me give you like where we go to after this. So imagine you do that a couple times, and then when I'm doing a jam, and this is again a recipe for a jam, I'm trying to create a sense of form in the jam. Why? Well, a good jam, and please hear me when I say this, if you tune out right after this, you'll miss some other really good stuff, but you'll at least catch this. A good jam still has form to it. There's still like a sense of verse and chorus to it. That's really important. If you don't have that, and it's just sort of this nebulous kind of, unless you're just jamming on one chord, and even then on one chord, there's still going to be some sort of sense of A section and B section. If nothing else, dynamically, that will naturally evolve. Because what will happen is that you'll get to jamming and you'll get to a spot to where it's like, we got to break it down. We got to do something different. The human ear will just be like, guys, I need a break. I need a change. I need something else. I need another flavor at this potluck dinner of a jam, right? So what we're going to do is, so I would call this sort of the verse, if you will. And then when it's time to do something different, so maybe that little thing right there. I went up to C sharp, to this little C sharp minor 11. That's going to be ring finger on the 9th fret of the low E. And then, not ring finger, middle finger. 9th fret of the low E. Skipping the A. Ring finger on the 9th fret of the D. Pinky on the 9th fret of the G. And then index finger on the 7th fret of the B. Ooh, I need to tune again. The reason I go up to those 11 chords, we had a lesson here recently where I talked about the more notes are in the harmony or in the accompaniment, the less wrong notes there are. Now, the other school of thought is that I don't want to play too many notes because I start to sort of lay out a self-fulfilling prophecy for whoever is soloing on top of that. I understand that, and if that's the case, you'd almost just be better off to do one note or two notes. And we might explore that here in just a second. But for right now, C minor 11, and then we're going to go down to this B. Sometimes I do this B just for fun. This is an index finger on the 7th fret of the low E, skipping the A and skipping the D. And then ring finger is going to be on the 8th fret of the G, and then middle finger on the 7th fret of the B. And now you got your pinky free to do activities up here, or just to do just those three notes there. And then I slid that back down to this A, right? Give it a little shimmy here for kind of a chorus effect, and then back to the E. And that A is just on the 5th fret, so index finger on the 5th fret of the low E, skipping the A, skipping the D, ring finger on the 6th fret of the G, and then middle finger on the B string of the 5th fret. Also, there's another one. I did a crap job of tuning just a second ago. I was too distracted. My bad. Another one is we're going to walk it down, and it's a cool little chromatic walk down. There we go. First time using a snark. Why do we do that? Why do we get impatient with the snark? Wouldn't it be cool if the snark had like a little reward mechanism? Because, behavior that is rewarded is behavior that is repeated. And so, like, if you were patient and you got your guitar in tune, it like sent you like I don't know, like a tingle or something. There you go. So what would happen if we came down from this A major 7 to again, this is our verse. Very smooth, very tasty. So from this A major 7, we're going to switch down to this E over G sharp. And I know that looks stretchy, but it's actually not bad at all. Again, if your hand is hurting, it's your thumb's fault. My thumb's right here in the middle of the neck like that. Middle finger is going to be on the 4th fret of the low E. Skipping the A. I got nothing against the A, but it gets skipped. Index finger is on the 2nd fret of the D. Ring finger is on the 4th fret of the G. And then pinky is on the 5th fret of the B. So essentially, this is an E chord. Think of this as a D chord that you've slid up. D, D sharp, E, right? And then instead of playing that major 3rd up here, I'm playing the index on the 2nd fret of the D, and then the ring finger on the 4th fret of the G, and the pinky on the 5th fret of the B. And so it's really like a power chord, because you've got this octave root, and then the 5 in the middle, and then the major 3rd is what my middle finger is doing. So the 3rd is actually on the bottom. Why do we do that? So if I go, that wonderful chromatic bass line, it's almost Change the World by Eric Clapton too, if you hear that in there. If I could change If you want me to unpack Change the World, I'd be happy to. That's a beautiful chord progression. Did not plan on that. That's one of them rabbit holes we talk about so often. So, right after this E over G sharp, keeping my index and my pinky where they're at. I do this all the time, and you should too. It's a beautiful little move. Anytime you're in this shape, index and pinky do not move. They stay anchored where they're at. Middle and ring are just going to go down a half step, okay? So middle is going to go to 3rd fret. Ring is going to go to 3rd fret. So middle's on 3rd fret of the low E. Ring is on the 3rd fret of the G. And again, pinky stays where they're at. You may have to kind of readjust with the thumb, because that becomes stretchy with the pinky. And my thumb, just so you know, if I freeze frame here and I were to remove the guitar neck out from underneath this, my thumb is almost like perfectly lined up with my index finger right there. And this is like a G minor 6 kind of thing. I want to go down the rabbit hole of naming this chord, but I'm going to avoid that. And then F sharp minor 11. I like this a lot because you get some open strings. You get your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the low E. Skipping the A, you got your 2nd fret of the D with your ring finger. And then pinky's on the 2nd fret of the G. And then open E, open B. And then I did this. I could have very easily done this. Just 2nd fret, or index finger straight across the 2nd fret. It's almost the same stew. That's one of those deals. There's always 2 ladies in the church potluck that literally cook the same thing. And maybe they have like this quiet little rivalry that every time there's a potluck dinner, they both bring a chili. It's always a chili too. Or it's a chocolate pie. It's a chocolate pie or a chili. It's definitely brown. But what happens is they bring it and they kind of set it in relative proximity, not too close, because the rivalry cannot be obvious. However, it does need to be one of those deals like, boom, man, Denise, woo, you put a good scald on this thing, gal, right? That's what they're waiting for. Anyway, so index finger across the 2nd fret from the A string all the way to the high E. So that would be an A6 over B. Or, like what I was doing, middle finger, 7th fret of the low E. ring finger, 7th fret of the D, skipping the A like we do, and then index finger on the G string of the 6th fret, and then pinky on the 7th fret of the B. The only reason I like this because I feel like it lines me up for that E major 7 again. And you can do whatever picking pattern you want. You could go, And I would encourage you just to do just these 2 chords until you get it nice and comfortable. Here's the first thing we did. Some doodles and some doodle bops. But the main thing is I wanted you to have another recipe for instigating a jam with yourself and a total stranger, or maybe you got a guitar buddy comes around every so often, or maybe you're the stranger that shows up into town every now and then. But whatever the case, nothing worse than going to some sort of jam or some kind of spontaneous thing, or sitting down and you're having a good conversation at the music store. I'm in that environment a lot. And so when I say that happens, I know it happens because, I witness it all the time. And in fact, a lot of times I will instigate it. Just so you know, if you come into a Palen music and you're sitting over there playing and there's somebody else sitting over there playing and you're shredding E minor Metallica and they're over here doing blues in A, and then somebody over here is doing the, lick from Spain by Chick Corea, I'll probably come in there and go, hey, and instigate a jam just so you can have some harmonious atmospheric achievement, right? Just because it's just better. Because you never know. You never know. I have literally, and it's not just because I work in a music store, but even before then, I have gotten opportunities to play with other people just by being in that kind of environment. And I'm not saying you should say yes to every single one of those opportunities, but you should say yes to a lot of them. Enter in with discernment and wisdom as always, right? So, to that end, as I have said before, and I'll say it again, if you'd like chord charts for any of that, Nate White, NateWhite at palenmusic.com. Send me an email. I'm very interested in what sort of Chords and Coffee content has been the most beneficial for you and what's working for you, because that's what I want to continue to do. And your feedback, your comments on this video, when you hit subscribe, when you share the video, all that stuff helps keep this thing alive. And if it's helping you, if it's working for you, if it's something you look forward to, let me know. And as always, I'll take constructive criticism as well too. We're in this thing together. And what is this thing? Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's the most encouraging community of guitar players on the internet. Thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for giving your Saturday morning up and hanging out with some folks, drinking coffee and talking about guitars. I hope you had fun. Hope you enjoy these. We'll see you next week for another Chords and Coffee.